Good evening, all. Hail, hail, and welcome along to the latest edition of the Endless Celts Podcast. I am Willie. Nice to see you again. I've not been on since 1997, so we'll see how this goes tonight. See if I can remember what I'm doing. I've had loads going on, and I've been a bit unwell and all the rest of it, and all the other excuses. But the boys have obviously been doing a fantastic job. And welcome along. So, Ross, how we doing?
Very good, mate. We half shift today. Not down to the pub for two Guinness with the wife and a wee Chinese, and I'm ready to go.
Superb, mate. And Tony's on with us tonight. How are we, mate?
I'm good, mate. A wee bit last kind of minute, but delighted to be on it. I feel like I know Ross is probably just going to log off now, but I'm just keeping it going. I know I'm normally the Monday Night Raw team, but I'm like Cody Rhodes tonight on Friday Night SmackDown. It's all good.
And our very own Hulk Hogan, Stephen. How are we, mate, brother?
I'm all good, mate. Fuck you, Ross, you prick. I'm looking forward to this tonight.
Ross's willies went back into his own body.
I'm looking forward to tonight. Willie, it's good to have you back on again. Looking forward to a good chat, a good laugh, sitting talking Celtic with all the lads. Can't beat it.
So just going to run through evening to everybody. 4:20 somewhere evening. How are we? Christoph A. Georges. I hope I've got that right. Monty's in. How are we, mate? Let me have a look through who else. The usual. Jed's in. How, mate? San Fran's in as well. Oh, San Fran. San Fran's my favourite.
Well, you rock.
Who else we got?
Willie does rock.
Wank. Jed says last time I was on, I had a perm. Last time I was on, I couldn't grow a beard and had hair. Martin Kay's in. Hail, 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 Ryan. Hail, hail, everybody. Great to see you all join us on the Friday Club. Hope you've got a couple of beers in your hand. Here's a little preview of what's coming up.
Are they a global giant? Probably not yet. Everyone knows who Man City are, but not every. How are you going to wrestle away the sort of appeal that United have had for so long?
But who's a bigger club, Man City or Celtic?
Celtic are a bigger club, probably.
Because why do you think probably on that?
Well, no, Celtic are a big. From what I said earlier about
who's a bigger club?
About global appeal.
Who's a big club, Celtic or Man City?
Celtic.
Okay.
I love that tune, man. I fucking love that tune, man. Monty's in saying quality top, Ross. It's her favourite. Celtic 88 says Willie Wallwell back after as many weeks in the sick. I was getting my my drive heated, and it taking a lot of time, and all the builders were in, so that's why I've been away for a bit. So back again, though. It's Friday night, and Wednesday night we all had a lovely jolly old time on our group chat because there was and I was going to say it was probably an expected result, to be fair, the way things are going. Result at Dens Park sort of put us in the driving seat. Ross, is that fair to say? Celtic are now in the driving seat for the title. I know there's still a long way to go, but
Aye, well, if before Wednesday night they were sitting on the gear stick, they're certainly sitting in the driving seat now, and that wasn't meant to be a euphemism. I've just realised.
I thought you had a flashback to you were going to pick them up further on the boat.
Moving swiftly on. Aye, listen, they are firmly in the driving seat now. That result on Wednesday has given us that cushion, if you like. And I mean, after the weekend, Rangers going into Sunday and then Wednesday. Listen, even the most positive Celtic fan was probably sitting thinking that at this point, going into the Scottish Cup semi-final, would likely be sitting a point behind them. Obviously, as it's turned out, we're 3 points. Ross is sitting a few sticks. Listen, I fully expect all the jokes to come in now because I've just left myself wide open for it. But
I'm sure you did.
Gaping. But anyway, aye. What's going on, man? Aye, we're in the driving seat, but Rangers have lost a bit of form. They're going through that sort of wee mini spell at the moment, like we went through sort of late December and then sort of carried on and off into kind of like early February time. You have to come through these spells. Rangers are having theirs again, probably at the wrong time of the season. But at the same time, you have to say as well that it looks like for all the world that they're absolutely bottling it because it was in their hands. The opportunity to go in front of us with two games that they should on paper be winning, but they've shut the nest and they've given us the sort of the cushion, as I say, and we have to, as much as we are in front now, we've not actually capitalised on it as such. We have to go out.
Mhm.
Obviously, we've got a cup game the morning, but we have to go out in the next game and the game after that and capitalise on Rangers' mistakes.
Absolutely. Tony, is that something you agree with? As everybody's in the chat saying Ross falls asleep mid-combo. Is that something you agree with? Tony, do you think that they're sort of shitting the nest now? And I've seen a lot about them talking about how this fixture was put back and a lot of fans complaining about it. But I mean, they did have the opportunity to play it the week before the Derby game. So swings and roundabouts. It sounds like there's a lot of excuses coming from that end.
As excuses comes as a standard with the ones, and they know that they're not going to get any pushback in the mainstream media either, Willie. So if you know you're going to get that much a free ride, then why not go down that path, I suppose. But yeah, Ross is bang on. It's one of the ones they've dropped, 5 points in the last two games. Obviously with the fact that they didn't take advantage of being at home against us the week before, puts us in a good space. But I think it was Alistair that brought it up in the comments there that 2005 probably still is reigned and it's tattooed on all our heads, and we all remember what happened that day. I think that season after the Craig Bellamy show, we went 5 clear with 3 to play, something like that, and still didn't win it. So I mean, don't be wrong, I think this Celtic side have shown over the years that they can handle pressure. Not that side couldn't, but I just think we've got a wee advantage now, and I think one of the great things is the fact we've got somebody like Brendan at the helm that'll just, he's been here before, he's been and seen it all, and it'll just be a case of eye on the prize, shut out everything else, and just focus on one game at a time. Which obviously it's the cup this weekend, but when the league action resumes, I'm sure it'll be very much a case of don't be thinking about Hearts at home or the upcoming derby or anything like that. Fully focused will be on that first game going to Dens Park, where we won't want to do or have a similar result that they did. But yeah, very much as Ross says, we've got the advantage now. It's just imperative that we take advantage of it.
Yeah, it's a great point about Brendan kind of shutting out the noise and just doing our own thing. I mean, he's been doing that all season. When we had a bad run of form, he kind of used to say that in the media was we just shut everything out and keep doing what we're doing. But in the chat, Monty's just said, guys, how is our John doing? He's doing brilliant, mate. He was round here for the derby the other week there, and he's doing really, really well. I'm sure he'll make an appearance at some point soon. But he's just getting on, doing well. But he's all right, man. He's all right. I'm sure he'll be in the comments tonight. He's been in the comments and some of the podcasts as well. So, Stephen, much the same, mate. How do you think we're doing in the title race now? Seeing as you said the league was lost 2 weeks ago.
I fucking knew you were going to do that to me. I knew there was a reason behind you leaving me the last. And look, I'm not going to deny it. I was absolutely fuming when we drew the Derby game. I was so annoyed and I was so angry. The fact that we let the lead slip and we got back in front, and then obviously things out of our control, like the penalty kicks and all, kick into play, and certain issues happen within the game. And yeah, it did say probably the league was gone, but look, things change over time. Situations developed that I certainly didn't foresee. I thought Sevco, Rangers, whatever you want to call it, would have probably went on to the end of the season unbeaten, because I am a wee bit cynical. I like to think the worst before it's happened, and I think that's probably a bit of my downfall in terms of football. I always think of the worst possibilities possible, and I put Celtic in them, and it creates a whole kind of argument around that scenario. But look, they fucked it for themselves. 1 point in the 2 games after the Derby is horrendous. And I think, Clement, or Clementine, as I like to call him, is just, for me, he's a baldy Beale, and he's the same record now as Michael Beale had over the season.
It's so much better when you say it, by the way.
But he's the same record now as Michael Beale had, the Messiah, the next tactical genius, the next Pep Guardiola. So that says a lot for me. The whole debate around Dens Park, the pitch, I thought the pitch looked like a bowling green. And in that game, I didn't think they had any excuses at all. I watched the game, and I have to be honest, I watch most of their games when I'm not busy, obviously, to keep an eye on what they're doing. I thought Dundee at times played them off the park. I thought in the midfield that Dundee overall won that battle, and very much so should have had a penalty kick, in my opinion. But again, them types of results, them types of decisions won't go in the favour of the opposition team, especially in the title race when they're involved. I thought that the reluctance to give a Rangers player a yellow card was absolutely disgraceful. I think over 33 fouls and 1 yellow, I believe, which is mad. But it is great. But I do agree with what Ross and Anthony are saying. We need to take advantage of this ourselves now. We need to kick on. And Rodgers always speaks about momentum and Celtic come alive in these types of pressure situations, which, look, we are coming to the boil pretty nicely. We're simmering and we're getting there. And I do expect us to go on a run now and just to be ruthless and relentless in our pursuit of this title. And it is funny watching the downfall over there. I mean, we've watched many of them. Do you know what I mean? Over the years, Warburton was the next one coming. Graham Murray doing his handstands on the side of the pitch. Pedro Caixinha having sex with a bush. It's multiple things that you can point to. The banter years over the years with Edmonds. And look, is the title race closer than what I expected? Yes, because I fully expected us to be miles in front. But again, as I said, situations happen, and some things like injuries and things and different issues come into play. I'm a wee bit ignorant to that, and I react, and I do understand why people get annoyed at me sometimes, because I'm like, this is fucking diabolical. We should be doing better. But the position we find ourselves in now is fantastic, and it's even better and more sweet that it's the downfall of Emmons that's created this position.
Absolutely. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. Let's go through some of the comments. Alistair Jack says the manager's a baldy Beale as well, but it's not as good when I say it as when Stephen says it. Monty says 1 game at a time. Absolutely, mate. San Fran Celtic says they haven't won a game since February that they didn't get a penalty in. Fun fact, or hun fact, if you're of that persuasion.
Gav would be all over that, wouldn't he?
Jed's in. Evening, Jed. Momentum has totally turned our way. Don't be surprised if Hearts beat them on Sunday. I totally agree with that. I'm a big believer in momentum in football, and they're on a downwards momentum at the moment, and we're kind of in ascendancy. I was really confident that right before the Derby game with the manager's presser, because he said we've got a squad it's as fit a squad as we've had all season. We've got all these players back. We're feeling great. We're feeling fresh, and I think it's shown. I think we've played some of our best football this season recently. So, Strange Love says Sevco have 5 points from the last possible 15 available. Unbelievable. San Fran says release Stephen's audio. I don't know what that means, but
I think commentary for Gracie's bar in the Derby. That's what I'm taking it.
I remember I said to Willie, we should put like a wee GoPro camera up in the Graces to catch the celebrations. Nah. That's never happening. Never happening. But see, can I come back what you said, Willie? I think it was strange enough this said the comment 5 points with the last 15.
Yeah.
Look, if we contrast that and what if Rodgers done that, and the media would be jumping over that, creating a big dilemma around Celtic and saying blah blah, should he go? Is he under pressure? But you don't hear that when it's Big Clementine doing the same thing.
Don't. I'm actually going to come on to him just shortly, but
this place would have been an oasis of calm, right enough.
Alistair, there's a few coming in to give you shit, Stephen. Alistair says you have to say sorry to Rodgers. Ryan says remind him of the shit he talked that day. Celt88 says Ross can be his favourite if he paints his house for a cost price.
I'm retired.
There's some work. Brown Warrior, I've not read this, but I'll put it out because it looks like he always talks sense. Even in Brown Warrior. We all Stephen, we all say things we can look back on and question. Difference is you're doing it live in front of a camera and this can be back at you. Don't beat yourself up. No, listen, Stephen will not beat himself up over an opinion. He will own it, and he'll say he is the most emotional person I've ever met in life when it comes to this stuff, and he's just passionate. That's all it is. But Stephen, just come right back to you because you kind of touched on it a wee bit. One, you talked about Dundee's pitch. They've obviously had this fine. I think it's a suspended fine, right enough. When I heard it first of all, it's like nearly 190,000. I think they've been fined, but I think I might be wrong. You might know better. It was a suspended fine. If there's a game called off again next season or so, they need to pay that fine. So it's pretty much a look, pay up money and get that sorted, or you're paying out, which is fair enough. I mean, if we were in that position where a game was called off 2 or 3 times, we'd be pretty miffed off as well. But so just touching that, you have talked about it in previous podcasts in the last couple of weeks anyway about pitches and football. But you talked about Clement there as well, and you're right. You're not seeing this sort of barrage and the media getting on his back like Rodgers had 3-4 months ago when we kind of had a wee bad spell. And I'm seeing a different side to him now as well. He obviously doesn't like losing, but the excuses from him, I thought Beale was bad. He has been ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, when the reaction, obviously the conference, the post-match press conference he done after that Dundee game, basically saying Dundee got lucky, said he saw a reaction within that performance, which nobody did, and even going by their fans online, they're even starting to question him now. And I love watching the videos. I don't know if you've seen it. Wee Wado on Twitter does like all these compilations of like different Rangers accounts putting all these comments saying, get Glick clip, come on the fuck, what the fuck's a team of serial losers and stuff. And look, we've known this from the start. And I know we're a Celtic podcast, but I think we can revel in these moments because they do it to us, and it's only fair. We're rival teams, of course. I mean, you look at Tavernier, you look at Goldson. Like, these guys have been the epitome of failure since they've been at Ibrox. The absolute epitome. But they're held to some high regard because Tavernier gets 40 penalties a game. Goldson saves shots that should be penalty kicks. And it's the hope that kills them more than anything, in my opinion. And I'll say it again, I genuinely believed after that Derby game we fucked it. So I thought they were going to go on and romp home in the league. But look, again, situations happen and it changes. But you look at, as you said, the excuses. I mean, Michael Beale come off with some crackers. Clement's doing the exact same thing. He is buckling under this pressure. I seen something on Twitter about when he was manager of Monaco. The same thing happened. The last 5 games of the season, his Monaco team didn't win a game, and I think they were going head-to-head with a title or the Champions League places, wherever it was. Leg crumbled, and it seems to be history repeating itself with Rangers this time, of course. But it is funny. The fine for Dundee, is that just because pressure from Rangers on the SFA again? Is that why they done that? Because there was no talk.
I don't think it was just Rangers. I think there was 5 postponements this year, which is shocking.
It is. Yeah, it is shocking. And don't get me wrong, the pitches argument is something we can have blue in the face. It's a disgrace that there's top flight football pitches being abandoned for wet weather, being abandoned for whatever amount of weather things you can think of. The 3G pitches, the 4G pitches, thank God Kilmarnock are getting rid of it. They're going back to grass. I believe it should be the way in top flight football. It's a better look aesthetically. If you're watching on TV and you're seeing rubber pellets bounce up and down, it doesn't look good. And you're seeing sand fill in.
That's some definition you've got, Sam.
you You see that you see the sand covering bits of pitches, and like McDermott Park, for example, Dens Park doesn't look good at all. So yeah, I do agree. Fundamental change needs to happen with top flight football pitches. I mean, you look back, Darvel. Remember Darvel's pitch in the Scottish Cup against Aberdeen? It's like a bowling green, and that was like January. That was happening over winter. Why can we not replicate this in the top flight? Are you laughing at me? I'm so confused, right?
No.
Why can we?
No.
Why can we not? You're getting it hard on because you got compared to Chris Sutton. I mean, it was like a bowling green. Do you know what I mean? It should be like that across all the pitches in the top flight, especially. And for it not to be is an embarrassment. Really, I do agree. And having 5 matches called off in a season, it isn't good enough. The fine is deserved, but there was a lot of pressure from one team. And I don't know the whole situation. Were they asked to play this before us, and they said no? Why did they have a choice in that matter? It shouldn't happen like that. But you know.
Apparently, Rangers wanted the full week to prepare for the derby, so that's why they didn't play it. But
I think both teams have to agree. No, I was just going to say I think both teams have to agree on the date that on offer, if you like. And I don't whether it was Rangers or Dundee, I'm not sure. But
to be fair, I don't think they would have. Even if they did decide to play it, then I don't think they would have been able to because the pitch would have still been waterlogged. Yeah. So it's a moot point.
The thing is, you know, they always say about that it shows you the state and the lack of investment and all that. But Dundee actually relayed their pitch at the start of the season, so it's not like they've not spent money. There must just be and Tannadice was like a bowling green. So I don't know what the terrain, and it's obviously on the same street. I don't know. The water must go down that way, but
must have got the grass off the back of a lorry or something. Off price. But
anywho, as long as we do the business up there next week, that's the main thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I hope I'm getting this right. Christophe Georges. He says, I'm taking advantage of the chat to say hello to 2 friends from the big Celtic family, Kevin, Brian, Carty. Love you guys. So there's a wee shout out that he's wanting there. Where are we? Alistair says, sign up the Dundee DJ. That was brilliant. You see his playlist.
Unbelievable.
So, Big Red says, guys, I watched the Rangers podcast. Don't hold that against me. They're the best Scottish comedians since Billy, Frankie, and Kevin. Tony, what do you make of Clement in the last 2 or 3 weeks?
Listen, man, I don't know who it was in the comments that said that he's like AI or a malfunctioning AI, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, our friend of the show, James P, that does his articles, and he compared them today with the fact that Liz Truss is doing a tour right now promoting her book. I think it's in the science fiction section. But it's like the scary thing is when you're coming across less sensible than literally the worst prime minister Britain's ever had, then you really have to be questioned. I mean, I've never known anything like it. Some of the stuff that he's been coming away with, Wally. And like we say, we've laughed at the likes of Warburton and Kashinya. All these guys have gave us, some great banter over the years, but this guy's like properly right up there. I mean, he's malfunctioning before our eyes. But listen, that suits me, and more power to him. And I think what's great about it is he's having this meltdown, quite publicly, and Brendan just looks like an ocean of calm. So for me, long may this continue. I reckon, and I have to say, if it was any other team they were playing this weekend, I would be thinking, they could be on a sugly peg for Hampden as well. But I think I would be very, very shocked if there's, if they're not in the final purely because of who they're playing on Sunday. I think, Stephen knows where his loyalties lie. But in terms of Clement himself, mate, he is having a complete and utter meltdown.
Aye.
The other Stephen,
I know.
As Brendan said, they keep coming. He's been through 5 managers now, and every one of them are coming. And it just seems like he's showing his true colours now, Clement, now that he's not been as successful as he did in the start of his tenure.
I was going to put the YouTube title as "When they say they're coming, don't trust them." But then I knew it might be a bit controversial, so I just left it out because people would take that different ways. But no, that was in my thinking today when I was doing the YouTube studio. But I mean, see for me as well. You look at Clement, and he came in, he did steady the ship, blah blah blah. But as Anthony said, the excuses are getting worse. He said something about you only need to put the ball in the back of the net. And I'm like, that's your job, mate. That's what teams have to do to win football matches. It's his job. Exactly. And it's mind-boggling.
There's somebody just to make myself.
And do you know what? One of the best bits of TV is watching Chris Boyd have to say the truth beside Chris Sutton. He has to, because he'll get called out. And he's raging.
Because he is, and he doesn't even hide it. He doesn't hide, but he was just a broken man, as all the fans in that stand that night. It was lovely to see. Monty says Clement was talking about ketchup at one point. Yeah, I thought he was smoking something that night or something. I was like, what the hell is he talking about? He's absolutely tuned to the moon. Get an Uber to Jupiter, you fucking rocket. Ross, he's shown his true colours a wee bit the last few weeks, isn't he? And I like that, because you know what? One reason I didn't like obviously I didn't like Van Bronckhorst, but I love to hate their managers, and I didn't hate Van Bronckhorst. I sort of respected him in a way because of what he's done in the game as well. But then Beale came in and he had 2 interviews. I was like, yes, fucking hate that dude. And now Clement's done the same. What do you make of him the last few while?
Fuck's sake. Alright, listen, see when he first came in and things were going well, I was starting to forum, and even like parts of the media were saying they were comparing him, his calmness and stuff with the media to Ange, which, I mean, he's no Ange by any stretch, but when he first came in, I thought, this guy's got a bit about him. I'm trying to dislike him, but he is coming across quite well. But now that the pressure's hit and a couple of results have went against him, he's absolutely coming across as batshit crazy. Some of the stuff he's coming away with is just ridiculous. Like, Faye storming down the tunnel at the end of the Ross County game.
That was poor patter, by the way.
Totally disgraceful. Absolute total disgrace. But for that, to some of the stuff he said recently, I think they're one more drop point away from him doing an absolute going full Kevin Keegan and saying they've still got to go to Rugby Park. I would love it if they beat them. I'm waiting for it. It's coming, like.
Can what though, Ross? You know, think that if you're playing for him and you start seeing that, you know, think, oh, for fuck's sake here. And you know, I think that's maybe got a bit of a detrimental effect on the team the now and the poor run it is because of how he's been. Because I thought that with Beale. Remember when we were coming up to I think it was a cup final, and he was coming out pretty much saying we're going to pump you and all that, and then the rest of the players kind of taking heed for that, and Sakala came out and called us them or whatever it was. I can't remember what it was, that mob or something like that. Yeah. Aye, and you're like you're not leading by example here, and it's going to come and bite you right in the arse.
100%. I think it's came right for, well, they obviously, listen, you can understand they were happy they got a late goal against us to seal a point, and at that point it looks as much a good result for them as it is for us. But the celebrations after it, and even I've heard some Rangers fans coming on to phone-ins and stuff and saying that they didn't like that. They were celebrating as if they'd won the title, and that to me is poor leadership, because he should be saying, okay, we've won this game. You do the lap of honour. Maybe they do that every game, but not to. It wasn't just a lap of honour. It was celebrating like Gerrard screaming down the camera lens in January levels, and it was embarrassing. If Brendan, well, it wouldn't have happened, but if Brendan Rodgers came out and done that after drawing with Rangers and getting a last minute goal to keep us just in front in the title, and they celebrated like that, I used to cringe when Ronnie Dyla done the Ronnie roar and all that, beating Hamilton. It was like, come on, man. Like,
beating Hamilton did the Ronnie roar. I'll ask you one more question, Ross. Is them doing that celebration after the draw, is that less or more roasting than Tony I was going on about the wrestling?
I wouldn't like to touch any of the two of them. They've got a fair hand.
Right, back to the comments here.
One of the best things as well.
Hold on, I need to read this out. Celt88 says Ross is one of these sly shaggers. Gives you a price for painting your fence, and before you know it, he's moved in with your wife. Stephen, the patter's brilliant tonight.
One of the best bits that I think we're missing as well. Your man Sterling. Did you see his interview? The left back, on Sterling, basically saying there was shit, and he doesn't know if the belief's there. Like who lets that guy do that interview? It's baffling.
I hope I'll be surprised if he's not been kicked up and down the fucking dressing room after it. Imagine Roy Keane was their fucking captain. Big Red's in says Dundee bought their grass off a local drug dealer for Lockheed. God bless Lockheed. God bless. God bless. John's in. I'm not going to read that out, but John's in, everybody. They were all asking for you earlier, John. I hope
He's
you're
a
doing
big
all right.
baby.
Big baby. 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 Next. The SFA at their best, they say they're going to release the fixture list on Wednesday after the game, then released it Tuesday. Fucking magic. Tony, what do you make of the fixtures? Were you surprised that the Derby game wasn't earlier than they've put it?
I was shocked, mate, because, and by the way, it now renders that argument that they always come away with null and void. When the top six came in, or even the years before it, when the SPL was formed, when we were in a close title race in '99, I know Rangers were always slightly ahead, but we'd pulled it back under Venglos, and there was the infamous shame game, the May Bank holiday, 6:30 kickoff. See, when you look back, man, that's absolutely just asking for trouble. And they says never again will this happen. It'll always be 12:30, or even before that. And then when the top six sort of thing was introduced, and they says they'll always make sure that basically they can't ever really have a title decider anymore. Now, I know a few years ago we kind of, that just the way it happened, because we lost to Hibs, we then beat them to win the league at Celtic Park, but that was not a title decider. I mean, we were only, I think, about 17 points clear at that point, so it wasn't like, they were coming with any hope of, bringing anything back. But this is a really, really tight title race. So I had it in my head, especially with the fact that I know they always like to never have two in the same week if they can avoid it. So the fact we avoided each other in the Cup semi-final, I thought it was going to be next week, or at the absolute latest, the week after, which is now the week that we play Hearts. Yeah. But listen, and I think maybe there is a wee bit more adult thinking going into it now, because there's always this thing about, it's the same way they would never used to have parades through the town if we win trophies or anything like that, because what will happen, it'll all kick off and that. And it's like, well, maybe if you just actually treat people like grown-ups, the overwhelming majority will act like grown-ups. You're always going to get clowns on each side of the divide. That's just what it is. But yeah, I was genuinely shocked, mate. But and I know it's not worked out great for you guys, because I know that you have all got plans that weekend, but I've got that weekend off on the Monday as well, so it's actually worked out all right for me. So I quite prefer the Saturday games to playing them on a Sunday, I must admit, purely because you don't have to take a day off work on the Monday. But having said that, I have took the day off on the Monday because of the Player of the Year night the next night. So fingers crossed it's a good weekend, mate. But as I say, we've got two really important games to take care of first, and I'm quite glad that we've got an away game first, because then it's like that. Well, we've got 4 games left, 3 of them are at home. I know our form at home's been a bit iffy this season, but I think we're at the business end of the season, and we're laser focused. So fingers crossed that there's no hiccups between now and the derby, and then it'll be very much a case of do what we need to do, and we could almost be there.
Aye, absolutely, mate. See, just saying that, I'll just come straight back to you, because you mentioned a few of the fixtures there. Is there any other fixtures that sort of no scare you, worry you a wee bit, or where do you think it can be won and lost anyway?
Yeah, well, I think obviously the derby's the big one, but although a lot of people are saying that the Kilmarnock away, and I totally get that, because we've certainly no impressed there. Again, like you say, well, it's not that anything about being, but it's fretful. I think you're always just kind of nervous at this time of the season, but I never like playing Hearts at the best of times, and Naismith will have them absolutely proper up for it, especially the fact if they can do anything, then it perhaps gives Rangers a bit of an incentive for coming the week after, and maybe that little bit of trepidation kicks in. But like I say, we've not played great against them this year, but that was then, and this is now, and the fact that we've got our top players coming back, especially in the middle of the park, and Kyogo's seems to be finding right back into the form that we know he's capable of, then touch wood, should be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few in the chat, guys. I don't know if you have seen this. I've missed this totally. Sorry if I've missed you saying it, because there's 2 or 3 said it as well. But San Fran's here saying, worse than that, Clement fucked Sterling under the bus today. I must watch. There's a few in the comments saying he's absolutely rinsed him, so it must be about. You've seen it, no?
No.
No, I said it must be sore getting fucked under a bus.
Oh, for God.
Oh, you just enjoy being fucked anywhere.
You absolute
Ross.
I've missed the Friday nights, man.
Ross.
You've missed the Monday nights too.
Ross, same to you. You surprised at the Derby game though, being, I know you were adamant it was going to be one of the first 2, as most of us were, and also just where do you think it's going to be? I think we all kind of agree, but where do you think it's going to be tough for us in the post split fixtures?
I will touching on when the Derby game is. First of all, I thought it was going to be the second game after the split. I think that's the weekend we play Hearts. I think 2 out of the last 3 seasons it's been the second game. And listen, if things sort of fall our way and we do our job, we can clinch it in that third game. I think it was more unlikely to do it in the second game, so I was very surprised that they've went with that. But I mean, if it transpires that we can win it that day and we do it, it'll be absolutely sensational. And I'm one of the lucky ones, like Anthony. I've nothing on. I have got something on, and when I thought it was going to be, which would have been Sunday the 5th, I was expecting, but it's worked out all right for me. But in terms of the run-in, I think you have to look at. Oh, fucking hell! I've just got a bit of cramp. Oh my God! Oh my God! I just like came through there.
Wow. A sitting position. Oh my God!
I'm about just go to Stephen next. Then
oh my God!
Who's the stitch comes in and he's bang on, mate. If the game's going to be hard. They do look like tough fixtures, but Stephen. Oh, he must have been doing some conversation this afternoon.
He's gone.
Jam's lucky night tonight.
Oh, fucking jumping about there like Usher at the Super Bowl.
Sold age.
San Fran saying penalty Rangers.
Stephen. I hate to take that to VAR. Stephen, what do you think? We all know how a negative Nelly you are. So who are we getting beat off in this split?
I'll be honest. I think like Anthony. I mean, fuck me. Last time we played Hearts at home, we were at the Christmas party, I believe, and we got done over 2-0. What a way to start our Christmas party to me. So that game does give me the fear a bit, and I think Anthony's spot on. Stevie Naismith will have them pumped up. And he'll be looking for his wee party hamper from Sevco if he gets the job done. But Dundee game, looking at their pitch on Wednesday, it looked okay to me. So I'm not really too fussed about playing them. They're a hard-working team. They give their all, but I do believe quality shines through that. The Derby game will take care of itself. We all know that leading up to it. Kilmarnock, again, I think Monty. Oh Jesus! I think that Dan Kilmarnock haven't really showed up against them recently. Darren McInnes seems to have our number. Again, that's a type of a hoodoo situation. It could be banana skin, but look, maybe. Put that up again. Put that up.
Ross showing the effects of playing that 50-year-old in painter box from the same shaft. Celtic 88 needs to come on. He's got better power than most on this podcast.
But yeah, I would say for me, Willie, Kilmarnock and Hearts give me the most fear and trepidation in terms of the fixtures.
Yeah, so what is it? Is it Dundee first? Dundee's first, then
Dundee
Kilmarnock?
first, then Hearts.
Kilmarnock, Hearts, sorry, and then Rangers. Save go. Ross, I'm going to come straight back to you because you sort of mentioned this in the chat, and I know you always notice this.
Get the ice bucket.
But there's
the magic sponge.
Magic sponge. Deep heat spray.
Need to get Shaz back in and you get on your back, just holding your foot like they do on the pitch at the end of extra time. But Ross, you noticed that as you always do, eagle eye. But there's obviously certain games that can't be played at different times. But the games that can, it seems like Sevco are playing first again.
Mm-hmm.
The supercomputer, that pesky supercomputer's at it again. What's your thoughts on that?
It's just absolutely no surprises. As I said to you earlier in the group chat, we've got obviously the game against them, and then the final game of the season, which has to be played, at the same time. So they cannot be controlled. And then you've got the other 3 games. Rangers play before us twice, and we play before them once. Obviously, they can put into like TV stuff and all the rest of it, but it's not a coincidence. It goes back to that pattern of assistance on and off the field. Like, there was no way in God's green earth that it was going to be Celtic playing twice first and Rangers playing once. I think last season we'd counted up at one point. I mean, I've not got the exact numbers here. I thought it was something like Rangers had played. It was around about this time of the season, maybe slightly earlier, and Rangers had played like 17 times before us, and we'd played 14. So, listen, in a title race that isn't close, it's not a great advantage. But when it comes down to what it is now, it is a big advantage. And I think it was proven no more so than in the game when they went to Ross County. If we can put them under pressure like that, I think they crumble. They've got an opportunity to do it to us. And listen, we have to come up with the answers if they ask the question. They didn't do it. And I fully believe that we will, but it's not 100%, do you know what I mean? But they are given the opportunity twice over our once to ask the question. And again, I go back to it. It's absolutely no surprise.
Stephen, it's a fair point. I mean, at this stage in the season, with the minimum games left, points on the board are massive and putting pressure in the next game. Yeah,
and I do agree with Ross. I mean, this supercomputer that people call it's someone sitting in a lodge somewhere getting the fixtures done by pen and paper. That's what it really is in reality. Like, I know we all joke and laugh about it, but there's a lot of shit that goes on.
Waiting for the white gloves to come back for the dry cleaners.
there's a lot of shit that goes on in this league that will never be questioned. The VAR will never be questioned. It seems like it's an eternity before anything's sorted out. And Ross is 100% right in what he says, that the fact that they get opportunities to put the pressure on us again is no surprise. They're getting the assistance, whether it's from referees, whether it's from the governors that be in the SFA. And you're right, Ross, it was like between 17 and 20 games last season we spoke about. They went first. It was around about them numbers. I'm sure there's someone in the comments that probably correct me on that, but it is similar to what you were saying. And I think Anthony nails it. If we get our job done, we've nothing to worry about. We're used to this. We've been in this position many times before. We know the ins and outs of what's going to happen. I'm sure that the powers that be at Celtic predict what points we could drop, what points we could lose to certain matters that happen that's out of our control. I'm sure that's done because I know Real Madrid and Barcelona are through a stage of doing that, Barcelona especially. But it is a joke. It's never going to change, Willie. It's never going to change. In this pesky supercomputer, unless the person in the lodge retires and then someone replaces him and loses the pen and paper, it's never going to change. It's going to be the exact same thing year in, year out. And if we take care of our house, we'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Just going back to some of the comments, Monty says it's only an advantage if they get the points, though, Ross. That's true as well. JD, welcome, mate. I seen your comment earlier and I couldn't find it again to bring it up, but JD made a good point about playing Kilmarnock and if Ida's played against them yet, because they play that low block and in the counter it might be interesting to have a big physical striker up there rather than Kyogo. It was a good point, mate. He says you just need to kill off the next 2 games early. Yep. James Floyd, welcome, buddy. He says Rossi have crumbled. Brown Warrior says I fancy St Mirren to take some points from them, yeah. And we can do the business at home as well. There's also some comments about how Stephen's stamp collection's going on for Paul McFarlane, but we'll maybe leave that out tonight.
Why did you have to say it?
Tony.
You know what? Oh.
Tony, this fucking split. We're talking about these fixtures now and it's coming out and all the rest of it. Just this split in general, like, I can understand the thinking behind it because it's extra games and it makes it more exciting for a league title or a relegation fight because all the teams are playing each other. But we've tried it for a number of years now and it's a bit of a farce. And what's your thoughts on the split just as a whole?
I always remember there was a really funny sketch on Only an Excuse years ago. I think it was the first year that it was introduced, and it was Charlie Nicholas doing his thing on Sky Sports. Like, Charlie always used to do that, like terrible language, but like try and come across as if he was more informed than what he was. But it did sum it up. It was like that. The split can be divided into two. When the shite teams try to avoid relegation, and the jammy teams that get an extra game against the old firm, RIP. But it was just like, and it's so true, and it's just like there was the fact that the team that finishes 7th can end up with more points than the team that finishes 6th. It's an absolute shambles, man. I can only imagine being a fly on the wall the night that they in their wee committee room came up with this idea. It's just ridiculous, and we've already seen there what you were saying there. I get the argument that all the teams down the bottom are all fighting each other and so forth, but that can just work out that way anyway. I mean, but then they can also have an effect on the title. I mean, Ross County are 11th at the minute. I think obviously Livingston they're long gone, but they've had potentially have a direct sort of influence on the title race. So I don't know if it was just one of these gimmicks to try and make us different for everybody else, mate. But I'm not a big fan of it by any stretch. And the fact that Ross was making the point the other day about just trying to organise, it's coming into that time of year when you're out more and you've got more daytime arrangements and stuff because of the weather, like weddings and stuff, and you don't know what you're going to be doing or if you can commit to something because you're still waiting to find out what time or what day we're going to be playing them. It's just like, release the fixtures at the start of the season and get on with it. I'd sack it tomorrow, mate. I really would.
Why was there no more made about them saying? Because they literally came out on the Monday and said, we'll not give you the fixtures until after the game on Wednesday, and then released them on the fucking Tuesday.
Aye, that's why I think, did everyone not just think that, it must be be like maybe it's a leaked picture or somebody's photoshopped it, but then everyone was like, no, this is actually for Celtic's page, and you're like, oh well, there we go then. But nah,
I just assumed that the guy that deals with the fixtures had a lodge meeting cancelled and he came in early.
Stephen Murdoch's in. Evening, buddy. Thanks for joining us again. He's one of the regulars. Nice to see you. Paul McAlmont, says that the split is bollocks.
Yeah,
McAlmont.
No idea.
Bollocks. Punjack Nugget says the split gives us more exciting times. I was thinking Macklemore.
So is that.
Oh,
This is the moment.
Aye. What was I going to say next? Aye. 116 live tuning in now. Thank you so much, everybody. The chat's gone fucking mad. I'm trying to keep up as best I can, but
superb, man. 115.
Evening trips from Ron Boy. Evening, buddy. Nice to see you in. Aye, the split. Ross and Stephen. Well, Ross first. Quickly, split. Shite.
Aye. Fucking split it. Aye, it's garbage. it's a total nonsense. That Anthony has sort of touched on it all for me. The fact that the team in 7th place can potentially finish in more points than the team in 6th. I understand that it does throw up some exciting games, but it also throws up like 7th against 8th. It's not really. They sort of know where. Most of the time, they'll probably know that they're not quite in that relegation dogfight. It's a complete and utter nonsense for me. It's an embarrassment to the game, and as Anthony said, you can't make plans until the fixtures come out, and then there's a delay in the fixtures, and you're just hanging about waiting, and it just causes domestics, and I'm just no here for that.
I wasn't really wanting to get into it. I'd kind of split debate, but it's kind of gone that way now. But Stephen Ray says that the Premiership should be an 18 to 20 team league, like all the top leagues in Europe. Most teams have cut the old firm allocations, so needing the green and blue money is an argument to me, and I hate four derbies. I mean, I see another thing as well. It's a great point, Stephen. Thanks for coming on. Another thing is that Championship must be the most difficult league to get out of because it's only pretty much one team that gets up. I don't understand why we've not got a bigger league. 3 teams go down, 3 teams come up, like most leagues around, or 2 teams go down and up. Nonsense. Stephen, just quickly, your thoughts on the split. Get rid of it.
Yeah, it's a shambles. I mean, imagine being 7th place and you qualify for the top 6 by points, but you don't get it because of the split. You'd be absolutely fuming at the end of the season, especially money implications, European implications. Even the dog agrees. Thank you. But in regards to what Stephen Ray was saying there as well, I totally agree. The SPFL should be bigger. I mean, you look at teams like Raith, Falkirk, Dunfermline, Dundee United. I mean, like Livingston, like how have they stayed in the SPFL so long? They make me sick. And like, look, St Johnstone, McDermott Park, the team, the stadium's all multicoloured and shit. It just looks bad. Get the league bigger, get the product better, put more investment into it, and then overall the whole thing should improve. And then I totally agree with that, John, as well.
Very good point.
And I don't hate 4 derbies. I love playing them at any opportunity, but for the greater good, expand the league and get rid of that fucking split. It's a shambles. It is a shambles.
Yeah,
I actually go the other way with it, though. I agree, get rid of the split, but I actually preferred the old way before the SPL started, when it was 10 teams, and you still play each other 4 times, but it's a straightforward play everybody 4 times, and it's more compact. It's more. I get that you would have one automatic relegation plus maybe edit the way you do the playoffs, but I think John's bang on the money with the fact of clubs won't vote for a bigger league purely because they get lit because of the TV revenue. But I actually think that would prefer it even smaller than bigger. I think there are teams in the first division that would enhance the top league. Some of the teams you mentioned there, Stephen, but by the same point, they are in the first division for a reason. So and lower in some cases. Some of the more the kind of the teams that you would class as that we've seen them in the Premier League before, and they're down in the first and second division at the minute. But like I say, I don't think there doesn't seem to be any appetite amongst the powers that be to change anything anytime soon. So yeah, I think they half-heartedly tried to sort of restructure it during COVID, but it was all, as much as the media protested otherwise, it was all about trying to benefit one team and basically bound to what one team wanted. And then of course you had their wee cousins moaning about being relegated, despite the fact that they were 12th and they had a problem with that, and there was a global pandemic. Make of that what you will, but yeah, I don't see anything changing anytime soon.
Yeah, agreed. Everybody's in the chat's kind of saying the same thing, and it's again as usual, money and TV rules all. I mean, we've seen it this week.
What do you think, Willie?
I think it's a nonsense. I think it should have been got rid of a long time ago. Money and TV rules all, though. I mean, it's shown this week where in the English now the FA Cup replays are scrapped because all the big teams have got too many games in a season, but a team in the lower leagues can get a replay against a big team, and that can keep them going for 2 years. But nobody cares about that. It's all about money and TV. But I mean, we could sit and talk about that shit all night. We're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Andy Townsend.
Subject.
Double pivot next week.
We're going to talk about Andy Townsend. I'm not a talk sport fan. I stay away from talk sport because I think, well, most of what I've heard, they are so disrespectful to the Scottish game. It's unbelievable. It's nice to hear somebody actually being a bit respectful towards our club. If you were in at the start, we did the wee intro, and it kind of showed the clip where Andy Townsend is talking about the stature of football clubs. Stephen, I'll come to you. And there's a kind of back and forth about Man City and how big a club they are, and if they're bigger than Arsenal or Chelsea and all the rest. And he's kind of saying they're not a bigger club than Man U or Celtic because of their stature and the world. And then he gets asked, are they a bigger club than Celtic? And Townsend says, no, when it comes to, like, we obviously know reputation-wise and stature and history and all the rest of it around the world. Mm-hmm. That's what he's getting at. He obviously, they're a bigger club as, like, per, because they're one of the best teams in the world at the moment, and we clearly are not. But what did you think of it? What did you make of it? I thought it was nice that we had a wee bit of recognition.
Well, I mean, if you hear from the usual ganses like Jason Cundy and the likes of them as Goldstein, like, see, when they talk about the Scottish League, it boils me piss to use a Scottish phrase. It really pisses me off. But I mean, Andy Townsend is right. It's an age-old argument. The reason why English teams, like you said, Billy, are superior is because of money. TV deals, revenue, income, commercial streams, all that. It's all commercialized. It's all driven towards big ownerships, Qatari states, Saudi Arabian oil arcs and people like that. So that's the reason why their stature has grown. It's not because of the club as a whole and a historic element. I mean, Celtic for me is on par. I mean, for me anyway, we're bigger than Chelsea, we're bigger than Arsenal, we're bigger than the Liverpool, United. There's an argument made to be there, but that's where I kind of hold Celtic in as a historic club, worldwide renowned, all that type of stuff with the story that goes with it. And no way am I saying we're going to compete with these things, no. But if you're looking at the big picture over a course of a number of years, we've been there, we've ran the course, and we're known worldwide as well. And like City for me and Arsenal to an extent are the epitome of tourist clubs. People go there with their phones and take lots of pictures and post it on Instagram, blah, blah, blah. It's a good day out. Celtic is built into it. It's a tradition. It's from when you were born. You're brought into it with your family, and it continues on like that. And like, don't get me wrong, it might change in years to come for City and the likes, the young generation now. City's going to be going all over the world because of their ownership and all that type of thing, which is okay. That the younger generation might support them and the roots may continue on into their families, etc., etc. But Andy Townsend's right. The Celtic are a big club. We're a massive club. And it's ignorant to think otherwise. And I think people mistake, like you said, Billy, of us saying we're a big club in the sense where we believe we should be up there still with the likes of United, with the likes of Arsenal, with the likes of Liverpool, blah, blah, blah. It's not saying that. It's the overall big picture. Historically, we are a massive institution. We're a football club known across the globe, supporters clubs in multiple countries, Dubai, the likes, Qatar, America, North America, South America, Canada. Where everywhere you go, you see a Celtic top, and everyone knows the club. City's only really building that reputation off the back of, I think John said it there, off the back of getting investment. Chelsea as well, with Abramovich back in the late 2000s. These clubs have stature of money. We built it from the start till now. And that, for me, is why we're one of the biggest football clubs in the world, period.
Yeah, a lot going on in the chat about... So Jed says, Man City are an amazing club, but their fan base doesn't get near us. Cell 88, it's just our fan base that makes us bigger, though. Do you think that's the case, Ross, that it's sort of the fan base? And we've kind of touched on loads before about transfer windows and how players don't really give a fuck about history and all the rest of it now. They're in it for money and all the rest of it. So if there's a choice to go to Man City and sit on the bench for 80 grand or come and play for Celtic or whatever club who's got a rich history for half that money, they're going to go there. Is that kind of lost in the game now? For me, I kind of think about Nottingham Forest as the best example. Are they a big club? When we were boys, and before even then, they were one of the biggest. I don't see them getting talked about in the same vein. What's your thoughts on it all?
Listen, I seen somebody saying we're only a big club because of our fan base, but our fan base is only huge because we're a big club. That's how I see it. I think it doesn't matter where you go in the world. There's a Celtic supporters club, all over. But everywhere you go, like I was in Florida last year, I had my Celtic top on, and I seen loads and loads of Celtic tops. And I'm not just saying this. I didn't see as many Rangers tops. I did see some. Maybe it's because I'm a Celtic supporter. I don't quite notice it as much, but I think you do. But listen, money and modern football has played into the fact now, and with the fact that we play in the Scottish League, we're not, in a footballing sense, a big club, but it's because, as I've said, where we play and the money we can generate and the players we can sign. If we were playing in one of the top leagues, I've absolutely no doubt in my mind that we would be on a par, and I know Man United have fell away a bit now, but we'd be on a par. We probably slightly below Man United. You've obviously got Real Madrid, you've got Barcelona, Liverpool, Manchester United. I think they four clubs are that sort of. You could even say AC Milan, possibly Juventus, but certainly they five that I've mentioned are that sort of top tier level of club. I think Celtic, even now, are the next level down for them, and you include like Celtic, Arsenal. You would have to say, although Chelsea have got bigger off the back of Abramovich's money and stuff like that, I still think they were a sizable club. Certainly a bigger club than a Man City. But I think Celtic are that tier down for your Barcelonas, your Real Madrids, your AC Milans. And for me, if they were playing in one of the top 5 leagues in the world, they would be right up there playing in semi-finals, quarter-finals, Champions Leagues, in much the same way as your Man Cities and your Liverpools and that play almost every season. I know Liverpool are in the Europa League now, but your Real Madrids, they would be in that stage of the competition, and they would be, I'm not saying winning if it was the English Premier League, I'm not saying be winning it every year, but they would be challenging for it, and they would be getting in that top 4 year in, year out, because they're a huge club, and everybody, there's players all around the world that have spoke about like going and playing there. The Barcelona players like Xavi, even Messi, guys like that have spoke about what a ground it is to play in, and like how good the fans are. And I just think that if we were playing at the top level and we had the money, all the players that we speak about would want to come and play for our club. I think it's a lot for a lot of players. It would be a no-brainer, and they would come to us over a Chelsea, over a Man City. Listen, I know Man City have got money in that now. It's maybe a bad example, but they would maybe not over them, but we'd certainly be in the mix, signing the top players that all the teams sign, and we would be challenging in the latter stages of the big European competition and the big leagues. It's just a fact for me. We're a huge club, and Stephen said it, an institution.
Yeah, I think you put that perfectly. I mean, Tony, just before I come to you and your thoughts on it, quite run through some of the comments because everybody's jumping on it. Brown Warrior just pretty much echoing what you said, Ross. Celtic were dropped into the Premiership. We'd be competing for prizes within a decade, no danger. Stadium size, fan base, and the fact we are debt free would ensure we become a force. Absolutely. Punch McNugget, thanks for coming on, right? Only Man United and Liverpool are bigger than us. Ron Boy says Celtic are a big club because of the worldwide fan base. Maestro 95, and this is the comment for me. Welcome along again, mate. Thanks for joining in. Football's all about money. You'll never get the story of Celtic in 1967 again. And that when you talk about the history football clubs, that will never be achieved again. The fact that all the players that were in the sort of radius, they came from the sort of radius where the club is, and won that big trophy. I'll never be replicated, especially now when the money in football. But Tony, what's your thoughts on it all? I thought it's quite an interesting topic because of the fact that I think if sort of it's wherever you're coming from, like I say, players nowadays, I wouldn't imagine most care about history or the sort of the history of your club. It's more about money. Like I say, I thought Nottingham Forest are a perfect example. They were a massive club. Now people just see them as a sort of Premiership relegation fighting squad. There's no players going there because of the history. I thought it was interesting. What was your thoughts on it and what the guys have said?
Well, echo pretty much everything that the boys have said already, mate. But it is nice to hear. And again, obviously, Andy Townsend's the perfect reason I'm going to say it here. The reason that Celtic are huge And the reason that Manchester United are huge, and the reason that Liverpool are huge, in terms of all the other reasonable sized clubs in England, is because of one thing and one thing only, and it's the Irish population, the diaspora across the world, and that's where you your likes your Nottingham Forests and your Chelseas that have these sort of moments in time where they rise to the top and then they sort of fall away again. Obviously, Chelsea have always kind of hung about, but again, it was a cash injection that really did that. Everything that Celtic has ever achieved is organic, and it has been done on with the financial backing of the support. Of course, it was a different timing, but the story of Lisbon is a unique one, and I think not only what we did in Inter Milan, but then when we went the week later for the Alfredo Di Stefano testimonial, that was his final year, and he wanted the champions of Europe to play in his testimonial. We went over there, and the press were expecting us to be turned over 7 or 8 and normal service would be resumed. We played Madrid off the park that night as well. And I think from then there's always been that respect amongst the kind of clubs that Ross mentioned there, the kind of the old money, you could argue, a football and clubs. There's always that respect for the name. We accept that through circumstances and the way that the world is now, that we're not in that, we're never ever going to be a point at the moment where you go into a match against any of the kind of teams as favourites, but the respect for the name's always there. And with the greatest of respect to Manchester City, and I know there's no denying the genius that is Pep Guardiola, but everything that they've achieved in the last 15, 20 years has been because of money. Everything that Chelsea achieved is on the back of, well, perhaps the genius of Jose Mourinho and Roman Abramovich's money. Manchester United, for all I get that they're massive around the world, and they again through the Irish side, and then with the injection of Sky Sports, they ahead of their time get into the markets in Asia and stuff as well. But they've had massive disasters in their history as well, and they were built the times where they were the success that made them then turn into what they call the legacy clubs is because it was all done organically. Same with Liverpool, until Shanks went in, Liverpool were pretty much a provincial club themselves. But obviously, again, with the geography to the Irish docks, their reputation grew as well. The whole thing that doesn't really matter is, Ross says, wherever you go in the world, there's a Celtic jersey, there's a Celtic supporters club, and it's an instantly recognisable shirt as well. You maybe have it from a distance, you have to, there's how many teams playing red, how many teams playing blue. Very few teams playing green and white hoops, and it's a unique image. And but I loved hearing Andy Townsend say it, because Celtic will always be a bigger football club in terms of historical achievement and the way of how we achieved all of those things, bigger than Manchester City or a Chelsea or anything like that. Circumstances dictate that we're not in that chat at the moment, but I agree totally with what Ross is saying about if we were in one of those leagues, that we would be competing. But as I always say, and I know that's not quite the question, but I always go back about these super leagues or joining the Premier League and all that. When you see all of these days, it's about who's got the best lawyers, because it's going to be the point deduction league pretty soon as well. It's a big circus for me, and it's something I never want to be part of. Whenever I go to games at Celtic Park, mate, I still think, okay, it was Fergus's genius, but it was built with our money. Our money paid for that stadium. Our money pays for all of these, the superstore and the training ground and all that. Maybe similar to Barcelona. Everything that we did ourselves, because no one else was going to give it to us. And that's why we're respected the world over. And that's why we'll always, always be bigger than any provincial football club with a sugar daddy owner.
Very well put, mate. Very well put. I'll just go through some of the comments on it. Stephen Ray says the biggest clubs and most respected clubs are those who've had success throughout their history while having a worldwide fan base. PSG and City are lotto winners with a Bugatti and Rolex. Absolutely. San Fran says, I've seen a total of one hun top here in 25 years. San Fran clearly lives in a chapel. Ball's in again. Man City have no history aligned with Rangers, Man U and Celtic. It's true. And Punch McNugget says, by next season, we'll be the most successful team in the world ever. Fact. Where else are we? Just let me run through some of these. Everybody's just slagging Stephen's Wi-Fi, it looks like. So we'll just leave that now and we'll jump on to the next topic, which is... Yeah. We're all good now.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
All good now. San Fran. Well, I should have clicked on that. San Fran's in San Francisco. I never even clicked. He's on every week. Never even clicked. Thanks for tuning in.
I left my heart there.
Jesus Christ.
Stephen laughed at that and then waited to
I got it.
seconds and then went, right, okay.
I like to support people. I'd say if people that don't know, I'd still laugh, but then I got it. So there you go.
Next, we're going to go on to this Lee Congerton interview that was I think it was in the Telegraph originally, but then like everybody wrote an article on it. Stephen, he's kind of... I thought it was an interesting topic because I kind of put it in the group chat today, and it's exactly what I thought would happen. There was kind of both sides of the view coming in, and he's kind of sort of threw the club under the bus a wee bit. Slated Lawwell, slated the fact we're not spending money, slated our policy. He said that Lawwell was a nice man, but he's an accountant. Obviously, when he was in his tenure at Celtic, I think it was Brendan that drafted him in. And he signed the likes of, had a hand in signing the likes of Dembele and Edward. And he said that he wanted to sign Moussa Diaby, who's now at Villa, I believe, and Nkunku, who's at Chelsea, and absolutely tore us a new one at Leipzig last year, if I remember correctly. They're the types of players he wanted to sign, but they wouldn't. And obviously, this is his interview, so he's saying what he needs to say. He never mentioned the countless signings he did make that were absolute duds as well. So there's obviously two sides to the coin. But what did you make of it? Did you think it was interesting? And you think it was just another excuse for everybody to jump on Celtic and say that we're biscuit tin mentality and all that sort of thing? What did you make of the whole article?
Well, I think for me, it's something that we've heard it before about Peter Lawwell being a good man, but he's an accountant. We've heard that from numerous people over the years, and look, he was meddling in football affairs when Roger was there, so that's publicly known. And even I think Anthony would say James P. read some articles and that around that time as well, around the whole Peter and Brendan thing, and back in the late 2018, 2019, that direction. But Lee Congerton, for the majority of his time at Celtic, that picture you showed on the clip of him with his earphones in, like, Jesus, for me, he was a shambles of a recruitment officer. I know now he's in charge of Atalanta, and he followed Rodgers to Leicester. And look, they have obviously bigger budgets and things, and you can understand maybe he has a bit of credence about him and who he's recruited now, and you can improve in them rules. But look, I thought the comment about Celtic having no money was quite strange. That would not break our transfer record. We signed Eddie for 9 million in around that time. Do you know what I mean? I think we signed Oliver Neesham for 4.5 million in around that time as well. Do you know what I mean? Later on, Julia, and obviously he didn't have a hand in that. So there was money about. Maybe not the level of 12 to 13 million euros that he was wanting for Nkunku, or the 9.5 to 10 million for Diaby at the time. And look, we have to understand as well, and look, maybe I'm kind of erring on the side of caution this one, because I know where my stance is previously. But if he was wanting to sign the likes of Nkunku and Moussa Diaby fresh out of the PSG academy without anyone really getting a look at them playing first team football, and he's went to the board saying 12.5 for Nkunku and 9.5 for Diaby, that's toxic, hypothetical. You can understand maybe the board reluctance to pay them fees for relatively unknown youth products in the PSG youth system, instead of a player who's 22, 23 playing his trade and playing over 100 games for a professional club. So you can understand why. The likes of Eddie come in and that loan to buy option, which worked well. As I said, £9 million. Neesham was quite similar, although we signed him permanently 4.5. So there was money being chucked around. I do agree. Willie had some duds. Comper came in under his watch, I remember. A lot of players who were never seen in Celtic shirts really came under his watch. And is he trying to save face in that interview? He probably is. Did he throw Celtic under a bus? Yeah. But we know this. This isn't old news. We know the club are reluctant to spend big money on transfers. But I would kind of back the club in this one by saying that he can look back now and say, and Cuckoo and Diaby have been successes, but at that time, they were all known youth products in a PSD youth setup with no first team exposure. So there wasn't no evidence to go off to be like, if you pay this, you get that. If you pay this for him, you get this, X, Y, and Z. So I can understand maybe why the reluctant services not to spend upwards of €20 million on two unknown quantities. So I get that. But he's using this now as a thing to say, if you listened to me, you would have had Nkunku and Diaby. Look at them now. One's in the Premier League, one's playing for PSG, I believe, or Chelsea. I don't know, one of the two. But they're ripping up trees, blah, blah, blah. But he didn't know that at the time. It would have been a gamble. And I want Celtic to spend money. But if I seen us spending £12 million on a PSG youth product that's never had first team football, I'd be like, what are you doing? so you have to weigh that up in reality, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. There's loads of comments on Stephen's Wi-Fi that are belted. I'm not going to bring them all up because we'll be here all night, but I need to bring this one up because it's comment of the night when it comes to Wi-Fi. Maestro 95, Stephen's on Craggy Island. Superb.
Am I sticking? I feel like can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're jumping a wee bit. It's not, but we can tell what you're saying, so it's all right. Also, nobody really listens anyway, so it's Ross. Ross, what were your thoughts on it? I think you kind of had similar views on the fact that he was kind of. I think it's pretty easy just to go out and say Lowell doesn't spend money, and then everybody kind of agree with you and jump on the bandwagon.
Well, it's an interview he's done, and he's given the interview and given his opinion on his time there, and he's just putting out words unchallenged. Listen, there's a bit of self-preservation in there, or a lot of self-preservation, and listen, probably the club would obviously say the polar opposite to it, you would expect, and the truth will probably be somewhere in the middle. Listen, touching on Nkunku and Diaby, was there a fee, a combined fee put out by him for the?
No, he never mentioned anything.
Listen, they were young, very well. You go back, what are you going back about 5 or 6 years there? So they're very young players.
Yeah.
To me,
I'm going.
19.
I was going by the fees that they eventually left PSG for. It was in the round, but yeah,
they're not going to have cost that 5-6 years ago. But to me, to counter, and listen, I'm talking for the outside looking in, but to counter what he said, that if Celtic had obviously spent X amount on them, then he could have brought them in. I think the two players that he's talking about at that time and right now fit the model of what Celtic want to bring in terms of they're young, they're projects, you can make them better and then sell them on for a bigger fee. To me, I think that's the type of player that most of the time Celtic would jump at. But Stephen highlighted the fact that at that point, you could say we were signing Ncham, Edward. I think Julian maybe came a wee bit after that, but I don't know if Congerton was still there when Lennon came in. But they were putting out bigger fees, and I know that Edward came in obviously on the want to buy, but then we still did spend a big fee on him. But as I said, the truth will probably be somewhere in the middle, but I don't think Celtic will come back at that interview because it does nobody any good. The guy isn't at Celtic anymore. So to be perfectly honest with you, I was surprised when he came out and done that interview so long after. Listen, he's obviously been asked the question, but to me, it doesn't really matter to me anymore. He's had his time here. He brought in some good. He brought in a lot of bad. It wasn't perfect. Nobody's perfect. It was a time that happened, and it's in our history now. And just look forward, and we're in a title race, and that's all I give a fuck about right now.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Tony, you got anything to add about the whole Congerton situation?
I mean, kind of. I read it, and similar to Stephen, to be perfectly honest, mate, I was sort of the opinion that what he was saying married up with what a lot of it kind of married up with why he left and why Brendan left. That maybe frustration at not going to the next level with the transfer fees. But, you know, it reminded me a wee bit of, you know, when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was on the Stick to Football and he was telling everybody, I could have got his Haaland for 5 million or whatever. And it's like, aye, but you didn't. Do you know what I mean? And listen, it's one of the ones I totally get his frustrations in it, especially with the fact that perhaps if he was given a bit more of a budget, there maybe wouldn't have been as many duds as there was. But yeah, it's one of those ones where, as Ross says, he's not at the club anymore. Brendan's back, so regardless, he must have seen enough to say, well, you know, I'm willing to come back. So, you know, it is what it is, to be honest, mate. But wish him well. But, you know, I think his time at Celtic came and went. It was part of although he might have found it a frustrating time, it was one of the most successful times in their history. So I've got none but good memories of that, those times at Celtic.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's actually ahead of recruitment at Atalanta now.
Yeah,
just
Atalanta.
knocked out Liverpool last night, so he's obviously doing all right. I don't know why he's come back doing all that shit. Anyway, Aberdeen up next this weekend, tomorrow afternoon. We'll still be here tomorrow morning, I think. Aberdeen Cup semi, Hampden. Good memories of playing Aberdeen at Hampden. There was one in the intro there, Ross, especially. We're sort of on the ascendancy at the moment, looking strong. How do you see it? How do you see it playing out tomorrow? And what sort of team do you think? I think there's going to be a few interesting selections. Calmack's kind of been getting bedded back into the team. Is this time that he starts the game? I don't know what the situation with Scales is. That's maybe an interesting one there as well. Does Naroki keep his place? Some interesting questions to be answered tomorrow lunchtime. And what's your thoughts? What's your thoughts on the sort of team? How do you think we'll fare?
Well, listen, every game you go into domestically, you expect Celtic to win, and it's no different tomorrow. It's a semi-final. Rodgers was in his press conference today talking about how he's been looking forward to getting back to Hampden with Celtic, and he's had to wait a bit longer than what he would have liked or expected. But that date at Hampden is coming tomorrow, and as I say, I expect Celtic to win the game. In terms of the team, again, in Rodgers' presser, he obviously alluded to the fact that he said Liam Scales was available for the squad or in the squad. Whether he starts remains to be seen. I think if he's match fit, I think Rodgers will pick him. But I mean, what has he missed? He's only really missed one game, hasn't he? But he is giggling at.
Don't know. Nobody knew was coming.
He's only really missed one game, so there's a good chance he'll probably be back in. I think the team will probably be Hart, Scales, Carter Vickers, Taylor, Alistair Johnson, Calmack. I don't know. I think he'll probably start with Awata again and maybe bring McGregor into the game at some point. Just still ease him back. I think we've got enough on the day that we don't need to risk Cal McGregor in a semi-final against Aberdeen. We keep him for, I don't want to say more important games, but listen, they probably are. When you weigh it fully up, you want to get both trophies, but probably the league games are slightly more important. So I expect Awata to start with Hatate and Matt O'Reilly, and then the big question for me is who's going to play in that left-hand side for us.
Is Yang away? Is he away in international now?
Oh, is he?
No. Did I not hear somebody tell me that last week? No, that he's going away to some sort of under-23 thing, no?
Well,
Celtic stopped it. Celtic blocked it.
Oh, have they? Ideal.
Rightly so, because especially with Maeda not being available as well. I know he had a really poor game on Saturday, but big wide open park. I think I would probably go for Yang again, just because I think if he can commit defenders more than
Palmer.
Palmer. I would start with Yang on the left and Kuhn on the right. The only other, I don't know, listen, it could be MD on the left. I would go with Yang, Kuhn, and Kyogo. And I'm going to. You want to score?
Aye, he's a score.
I'm going to go 2-0.
2-0, easy peasy in the final. Let's do it. San Fran says, if that female reporter doesn't interview Brendan after we clinch the title and call him a good boy, then what was it all for? Absolutely. That would be the best thing that I've ever seen in my life. Jed says, the same team it started against St Mirren. 420 somewhere says 4-0. Hail. Let's hope so. Stephen Murdoch says he'd play Rocky. Estepona boy says disagrees with us and says that Yang no for tomorrow, please. Paul McFarlane is in with a lovely comment saying I'm a great presenter. Thanks very much for that, mate. Thank you very much. Maestro 95's in again saying use the width of the pitch, attack down the flanks, and which is maybe an argument for Palmer coming in. I'm going to come to you two boys anyway, but obviously there's more comments for Palmer here. Stephen Ray saying left wing is no-brainer. Palmer needs to start over Yang. 37 apps, 11 goals, 13 assists. Yang's 30 apps, 1 goal, 3 assists. Tony, what do you think? There's definitely a few choices for Brendan to make, and I mean, we've been talking about the injuries all year. It's nice to actually have some choices to make in the team rather than the slim pickings. What's your thoughts? What sort of team do you think we'll go with, and how do you think the game will play out?
Well, it's just a couple of questions. So I didn't catch the press conference today, mate. So is Scales and Palmer available? Are they deemed fit to go?
Stephen,
Palmer.
Aye.
Palmer and Scales.
Aye.
But I think Scales is available for the squad.
Stephen alive.
That probably means he's going to be on the bench. Stephen
alive. See if you didn't see us all the time on fucking Twitter and Pornhub, you might hear the fucking connection to get online with us. Sorry, Tony, what are you saying?
No, you're fine.
No Pornhub on me, mate. No Pornhub on me.
Terrible. No, the thing is, for me, if I can see where Jed's coming from. I get that we didn't exactly start great last week, but that wee bit continuity as well, and that's what I was just saying. With the fact I know Navrocki started last week, and I didn't see the game. I was away for the weekend, so I don't really know how he fared. But it was a clean sheet, so it can't have been too bad. So I'd probably just say with the fact that it's a cup, I'd probably go the same again, and maybe look to bring Kalmack on as the game goes on, and maybe give Yang another opportunity to say, well, didn't do too great last week, but like as Ross says, there's big open park, go and express yourself. I think Kuhn's more than earned his slot on the right, with Kyogo up top, and again I think it'll be O'Reilly and Hatate with the Wata starting, and I think Kalmack will get brought on later on, and then they'll probably look to start him for the league run-in starting at Dens Park next week.
Interesting. There's a lot of debate in the chat going. Maestro says I'd play Yang, Kuhn and Kyogo. Well, Stephen agrees with that. We're going to hear what Stephen thinks in a minute. Brown Warrior says Forrest should start if he's fit enough to play for 60 minutes. Joseph Agnew also says, hail. Question, boys, do you think James Forrest gets a JF? I'm assuming James Forrest gets on from the start. HH for hail. KTF for kiss the face. What else have we got here? Paul McFarlane says 5-1 Celtic. Slim Tim Whiteman says Birmingham 6, Paddy Hill 1. Well, there's lots going on here. Celtic 88, Neil Warnock to storm the pitch and kidnap Majowski. Lots going on. I think you get about 8-1 at Willie Hill for that. Celtic 88. But Stephen, what do you think? Does Kalmack start? Does he keep him and only play the last half hour like he's kind of been bedding them back in. What's your thoughts? Where are we going? Who plays in the left?
Well, I'm actually buzzing at the games on BBC Scotland. I love when there's free to air games for a semi-final. Like it's brilliant, and I think it should be like that all the time, in my opinion, for Scottish Cup games and Scottish League Cup games. But I know that's a debate for another day. But in terms of the team, like playing Aberdeen, the clip at the start, that Tom Rodgers goal paired with the Titanic music is one of the best bits of content I've ever seen. It's absolutely incredible. And it's just so good to watch. That was obviously what it meant that day. And I think Scott Brown came out recently and said it's his favourite moment as a Celtic captain and a Celtic player. I'm already putting Ross to sleep. That's a bad sign. But I mean, for me, like at the team, I'm confident I would go Joe Hart, Alistair Johnson, Carter Vickers, Naraki, Greg Taylor, Iwata, O'Reilly, Rio, Kuhn, Kyogo, and Yang. I just have a preference for Yang. It's just a preference. I know Palma's stats looks good, but Palma really, really, really annoys me. He frustrates the life out of me. He cuts in too many times, and I think Yang's just more direct. He gets at the fullback. He gets into space, and yes, is he raw? Does he not convert his crosses? Yeah, maybe not, but that'll come. He's young. People are failing to realise this. He's a really young guy, and he's coming from the other continent across the globe to us. He's going to take time to settle in, like Kuhn did. And I do expect big things going into the next season from Yang as well. But that's just my preference. In terms of the game itself, I think that Aberdeen, they're in limbo. I know they appointed Jimmy Teal or whatever from Elfsborg, the Swedish manager. Jim, whoever it is. But he's coming in. He's coming in next season. Fuck your crocodile shoes, Willie. And they've still got the caretaker manager in, so I don't know if there's different things happening for them in terms of being unsettled in the dressing room. Neil Warnock lasted. Did he last more than the cabbage? He didn't, did he? Remember that Liz Truss thing? He didn't last more than the cabbage. Remember that whole thing when she was Prime Minister about the cabbage? I don't think he lasted more than that anyway. He was shit. Shambles. He shouldn't have been anywhere near the Scottish game. But I'm expecting I'm expecting a good... why? What's going on? I'm expecting a good game of football. Yeah. Both teams can at it from the start, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Let's just go to a few more comments before we wrap it up. There's a lot of debate about this, about who plays on this. I'm assuming they're saying Forrest to play on the wing as well with Kuhn. So Brown Warrior says Forrest, 100 goals, 100 assists, 300 medals. Absolutely. Who's the snitch? Forrest on for 30 minutes, in my opinion. San Fran says he would start Ida and bring Kyogo on against tired legs. No, I'm not going to tell you that. Maestro is bang on. I think this is why there's been an upturn in our form for me recently. Rio Hatate is the main man. I think that if everybody's playing their prime, and I include Kalmak in this, so this might be a bit, but he's the best player in the league for me. Stephen Ray says, give Yang another opportunity to do hee-haw like most of his appearances this season. So there's a lot of debate about it, but everybody's fairly confident that we're going to get a win. Here's a thing, right? We're talking about
Jinx Stephen is our James's alter ego. That's the alias he runs under.
I thought he was Stevie the Bookie's alter ego, but that's for another.
Oh fuck! Really, Willie, do not start it. Do not start it. Oh, Ross, you're.
See that? What was I going to make? The point I was going to
make. Sorry,
make.
Willie.
It's interesting with you're talking about Yang and Palma. I think here's a point. Tell me if I'm talking nonsense like I usually do, but do you think that Kyogo suits more playing with Yang because he's a bit more direct, hits a byline, and just likes to flash crosses across whatever, and Ida suits more with Palma because he just likes to get the ball at his feet and get balls in the box for him. For me, if I'm going with one, if I'm playing Ida, I'd probably lean towards Palma, but if I'm playing Kyogo, maybe Yang. I don't know. Maybe it's just a thought.
It's a great point. Something I've actually never thought about. I do get what you're saying. Yang likes to beat the fullback and whip that ball in low across the 6-yard box, and Kyogo's usually lurking about there. Where you've seen that I mean, yeah, it was Palma very early on. Do you remember Tynecastle played that lovely ball in for Matt O'Reilly over the top, and he controlled it first time finish into the bottom corner. So they've different qualities, and I think it's actually a good thing that you said that, Willie. And again, it's something that's never came to my mind, but again, different partnerships. Fuck off, Ryan. Different partnerships. I mean, for different players can be a good thing. Building up them relationships. I think Ida, whatever. I think Palma getting them lofted balls into the box could be great for him as a target man, getting the head on things, keeping it up, linking with the midfield. Where Yang, for me, gets out of the full back and puts them balls across low in the 6-yard area where you expect Kyogo to be.
Yeah, I think we made that. Sorry, Wally. I was just going to say, I think we made that a similar sort of point when we had Giacomakis there. I think certainly I used to say that when I think it was I can't remember the exact players. I think it was like Matt O'Reilly. I said Matt O'Reilly's in the team, play Kyogo, but then there was somebody else. I can't remember off the top of my head, but
Moy?
I always remember who.
Moy?
It might have been Moy. I can't remember who the other player was, but I can always remember making the point. But when this other guy's in the team, then maybe that would suit a Giacomakis. And I think you make a brilliant point, Willie. I've never really thought of it myself, but when you mention it, as you say, Palma, he likes to come inside and he'll put that ball in, that sort of in swinger, if you like, and it's high and kind of lofted, which obviously suits Ida. And then you've got obviously Yang, who likes to beat his man and more hit the byline and put the ball across and play that sort of Ange Postecoglou style ball. Obviously not Ange Postecoglou playing it himself, but that style of football, flashing it across the box, and Kyogo coming in that late run and picking up the loose ball or getting across the keeper and putting it in. It's a really good point. I think you could be onto something there if Palma starts. Maybe Ida should, but for me, as I've said, I would start Yang just because he excites me more, and I know Palma's got more. He's got more end product. He has shown that, and the stats say it. But I think when Yang, and it's not been much, I totally understand it, but I just see something that I like in him, and I just really hope that the potential that I feel is there can come out. And I mean, no better time than it to start the Mora, but we'll see.
I think what I would say about Yang is, and I think that probably the only other player we've got in our team is Kuhn that does it. Every time he gets the ball, he just wants to run at the fullback. And I mean, that's always kind of sort of been the Glasgow Celtic way. So interesting. We'll see everybody in the chats. Still debating that, and there's loads of Stevie the Bookie stuff going on, but we'll just leave that there.
See before we move on, Wally, just off the back of that, like, see when we were going through our poor sort of spell and dropping points, people were going off their head because they kept saying the wingers keep coming inside. And now that we're had a sort of upturn in performance, and we've got Kuhn and we had Maeda, and they were both more direct, and that to me, coupled with obviously Carter Vickers coming back and Hatate, but that more directness and getting to the byline and getting the crosses across the box, it's coincided with that sort of upturn in results. And as much as I think Palma has got quality, if he plays, we're still playing against a team who's going to try the low block, have two banks of four, and we're going to go back to that coming inside. And then it's the style that everybody complained about earlier in the season. Now some people want us to go back to that because Maeda's out of the team.
It's the speed of play as well, isn't it? Because if you play Palma, he automatically, for me, slows the game down, and it gives them time to organise. Where if you have Yang and Kuhn, it's direct. They're on the back foot. They're trying to defend one-on-one situations, and they're, like you said,
defenses.
Yeah, Hatate can make the runs into the box. Matt O'Reilly can be in behind there as well. So there's space to be opened up. Look, the Palma argument is a valid one. Let's not be ignorant about it. He is a good player in his own right, but I think, like you said, Ross, with the coincide of the injuries coming back and us being more direct and quick on the front foot, we're reaping the rewards. We're playing probably the best football of this season towards the end of the campaign. And like Roger said today, it's not how you start the marathon, it's how you finish it. and we're coming to the boy nicely, and I'm excited for tomorrow. I'm absolutely buzzing, to be honest. I can't wait for it.
What's the plan, Stephen? You watching it with your granda?
Me and my granda, as always, watching the football together. Yep, it'll be good.
Ideal.
Can't wait.
What about you, Tony?
Jude's got a game early doors tomorrow through in Carluke, so I'll be at that, and then I'll be home, and we might get the wee rolls and bacon on when we get back, and we'll watch it. We potentially could have been at the game, but he's not been feeling too great this week, so it'll just be a wee chilled day in the house, because Lisa's out on a girls' day all day tomorrow, so
ideal.
Quiet.
Even better. Ross, what are you doing for the game?
In the house, mate. I've got a wee keg in, and Big Jimmy's coming up. He's back for London.
Superb.
He's back for London today, so he's coming up to watch the game.
Superb. Well,
what about you,
Willie?
I don't know what I'm going to be doing yet, because I've got a funeral in the morning, so I don't know if I'm going to be back in time to catch it all, unfortunately, but I'll figure it out. We'll figure something out. It was a good Celtic man as well, the funeral I'm going to, so he'll be looking down, and he'll make sure we get a result. So God bless you, Brian Cook. But thanks everybody for joining in tonight. The chat's been absolutely superb. I've missed it a lot, and I've really enjoyed myself tonight. It's been some laugh. All the usual stuff. Get on your Super 6. We'll be back again Monday to talk about being in the final of the Scottish Cup, and talking about looking ahead at playing Hearts in the final. I hope you have all enjoyed it. How you enjoyed it tonight, boys?
Brilliant,
superb.
Great. As I say, it was a bit of a late call up, but absolutely brilliant. Loved it.
You called yourself up, Anthony.
It'd be like Steve Clark putting himself up front against Germany.
Listen, the way we're going now, it might have to happen.
Absolutely. Thanks again. Thanks for the support. We've had over 100 sitting watching most of the night, so it's been absolutely superb. All your input, I mean, it'd be shite with it. All your input, all your guys and girls putting in your thoughts, and some of the banter coming for the chat tonight was absolutely hilarious as well. So thanks very much as usual. I'm going to leave it to our, as Tony says, our esteemed captain to sign us off with his catchphrase, and maybe he'll give us a wee Bruce Forsyth number after it as well.
Oh, yeah, I don't have the biceps yet, Willie, to do that. I'm not doing that.
Make it crap like Ross.
I will get cramp.
What was that?
But no, make a cramp like you. But to be fair,
okay.
it was because he sat in that gear stick at the wrong angle. You know, but sure. But I want to echo what Willie said. There's a lot of new people in, so hit like, subscribe, share us wide among the Celtic family. We'll greatly appreciate that as well. It's been some laugh having us all back on again. Oh, brilliant, David. Good to have you on as well. But yeah, been some laugh. Willie, great to have you back. Flowed really well. Great laugh, everybody. The comments were on fire. Stevie the bookie, whatever. My Wi-Fi was shit. I'm all down for it. The opinion was wrong. I love it. Need to say sorry to Rogers. I'll take it. But we're getting to a cup final on Saturday, and hopefully we're playing Hearts as well. But look, here's a great weekend. Hope everyone has fun. Stay well. Keep safe. Hail, hail.